what we've been waiting for. Unbelievable timing on that. And it's the Tigers straight away. Game. What a start.
Welcome to the Ultimate Supercoach and Fantasy Sports Show. You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Welcome back to the Inside Fantasy Sport NBL edition. And boy, another week down, and we move into wrap what was round 3 of the NBL Supercoach. I can't believe we're already that many weeks down. I'm the Supercoach Hawk, Rob Kennedy, sitting here with SC Mattrix and the Hammer himself, brought to you by the Standard Squeeze. Make sure you use our promo code INSIGHT15 to get 15% off all your Standard Squeeze products. And of course, Ryan Hammered from Astute in Newstead. Hit him up for all your home node needs. Ryan, make sure you let him know that the boys from Insight sent you. Support those who support us. We have a lot to get through. I'm going to say my welcomes first, and then we can talk about what's on this show. I'm going to go to you, Matty. How are you, mate?
Oh, just excited to be here again. I love NBL. I got my Cam Bairstow jersey on. Can't wait for, I'm sure he's got a son to play in the league for the next time this jersey becomes relevant. So, yeah, up the Golden Circle Bullets.
And the man, the myth, the legend himself, Hammer, how are you, mate? Get a bit of NBL in this weekend?
Mate, I watched most games. It was a horrible round, wasn't it? If it was a Friends episode, it would have been called the one where the stars didn't fire.
Yeah, that was deep.
I like it.
I just got a tear in my eye.
That is deep to kick off the show, and I like it. We have a lot to get through. To everyone who's watching us along on YouTube, welcome to the live. As you already are throwing your comments in the side there, we will try to get to as many questions as we can throughout the show as we go through. This is our wrap-up show, so we're going to wrap and review all the games that have been. If we see some questions there, we'll go through it. Hammer's looking fresh. He's getting his compliments already. We love it. We're going to throw them up. Massive shout-out to you. This show is awesome when you get those comments in there. Remembering that we will get to a lot more trade conversation as we load into round 4, which is going to be a very tricky week, boys. There's not many double game weeks or double game weeks this week. So looking at those trades is going to be massive. So quick rundown of what we're going to go over today. We are going to look at some breaking news. We're going to cover how our teams went. I'll just pause there for a second.
Let's skip that.
We're going to get into this week's Squeeze of the Week winner. We're going to obviously go over the Supercoach reviews of every game. We're going to check how our community team went. We're going to mention the upcoming schedules and the teams and what we think you should look to target, early trade thoughts and plans, and then we'll leave a little section at the end for any questions that we haven't answered along the way. Now, Matty, I know you've had a little bit of fun in the studio today, so I'm going to let you kick off with point 1, which is today's breaking news.
G'day, guys. I'd just like to let everybody know that Aaron Baines got 5 games. And it should be noted that he's already missed 2. The Brisbane Bullets really missed out on him this week. They missed his size, they missed his presence, and they missed his beard. So, yeah, really disappointing from the Brisbane Bullets there. I'd also like to note that not even Alfred Payton could save the NBL teams from being absolutely pumped over there in America. I wonder how long that's going to go for. Not only does it ruin our NBL season, but it also ruins their hopes and dreams. Menenga, he's sick. Armstrong, he's out. Cairns are in disarray. Hopefully they're good in a few weeks' time. Anyway, over to you, Rob.
No, look, I'm glad. We lost. Oh, no, we just went back up. I thought we lost a couple of viewers there for a second, and then we've gone back up. Either they've heard you say back to you, Rob, and they've jumped back in. I don't know if that segment is going to last in that way moving forward. I'll leave it to the community. It's getting a bit of laughter there from a Cameron Williams. The brainer himself's thrown in there. Is that Tracy Grimshaw? It could be. It could be.
He's seen my legs.
Let's try and bring a little bit of seriousness maybe to that. I will throw to you, Hammer. Give us a quick snapshot of what you think. I mean, I don't think the Aaron Baines isn't massively breaking news, but I think, mate, you know, Alfred Payton not being able to help out any of those NBL teams over there. Give us a quick snapshot of what you think about, 1, the suspension, the 5 weeks, and then 2, the NBL games up against the NBA teams.
God, look. If anyone deserves a 5-game suspension, it's Mattrix after that segment. But look, interesting turn of events going on from the suspension. It's come out in the news that someone's leaked the footage. You guys get a chance to have a look at it this week?
Sure did.
Yeah, I did watch it. The man's a maniac.
Quite interesting after it came out that Ford had no part to play in it. It sort of doesn't line up with what the video is showing, but nonetheless, 5 games for Baines, 3 left to serve now, and the Bullets went down without him.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's got the right to put their hands on anybody, but I also don't think you have the right to be stopping anybody on their way back to their change room in a professional sporting atmosphere. So it's a tough one, isn't it? But I think, so did I get it right? He got 3 games for that component. I think he got 1 game for what happened out on court. And there was one game that was a little bit controversial for the way that he sort of walked past the coach as they were on the court. So look, they decided not to appeal any of it. It's 5 games. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be messing with Aaron Baines. He's a big unit, that's for damn sure. So I give a bit of shout out to the coach for getting in the way. It's not a bad little effort, but mate, I'll throw you.
I'm surprised he didn't get more. Fuck me.
I reckon it's the fact that, one, he probably restrained himself. Let's be honest, it's kind of a solid push. But I think the fact that the coach should not have put himself in that position. He should not have been there. I think there's an element of that's been put into place, but it's not a good look. Matty, what do you reckon, NBL? We had the excitement last year of an NBL team going over there and getting a win against some of the NBA teams, albeit I think they were knocking down about 8 of 15 from half court to win that game. But there's been a fair blowout in this game. Does it look bad to the NBL having games like that against some NBA teams?
Not really. This is kind of what you expect. We didn't send our best talent over there. Look, it's disappointing for Supercoach that they're out at the moment. I don't really know what we get out of it, considering it's pretty hard to get it televised. It's pretty hard to watch any of it. Yeah, I wonder if the writing on the wall is for it. Unless you're sending Melbourne and Perth over there, yeah, I don't want a bar of it.
It's the wrong teams and it's the wrong time. Like, if we had sent, your Sydney, my beloved Jack Jumpers, any of these teams that have got half a shot, it might be worth watching. And why do we do it during the season? I know it lines up with their preseason, but surely we can push it back a couple of weeks and not interrupt Supercoach of all things.
Yeah, that's what's all about.
Totally agree. Speaking of Supercoach, let's dive in and have a look at our Supercoach teams and how they went this week. We'll start with you, Hammer. How'd your team go this week?
Look, I made some regrettable decisions. Wasn't great, man. This really was the round where the big guns didn't fire. We talked all week about the guys to bring in, and I don't think we could have picked it any other way. The guys just did not show up. I had 300 for the week and dropped about 57,000 places. So not great.
You, Matty?
Yeah, so after I prepped up, I had this great pod play in Jalen Adams, which was going to turn out to be an elite pod play. I ended up going, hey, I need this cash generation. It looks like Jalen Adams isn't going to do it. It's early on the year. Maybe I don't take that risk. It has cost me a lot of points, a ridiculous amount of points, and probably 1,700 spots, because I was always going to bring in Lockie Ulbrich for somebody like Menenga. Still got that cash generation there, so really happy. But bringing in and captaining Justin Robinson just wasn't the play this week, even with the Adelaide game. So.
Yeah, so I started my week with a post out on Twitter. If you haven't already, make sure you follow us along on Twitter and all our social media platforms. You can join our Discord as well, where we all chat in a community. My post this week was no Cotton, no Robinson makes me very nervous, especially with that many that was bringing in. Pretty much the only thing I was checking all week was how those two were scoring. And when I saw Robinson not get off to a great start, and then the same from Cotton, I was feeling pretty good about what my team was going to do. Lucky enough, we jumped up 266 spots to be sitting 240 in the country at the moment, or in the world, however you want to look at it. We'll do a bit of an American thing, World Championships of NBL Supercoach. Sitting 240 overall at the moment. Very lucky where I am, but got to make some big moves this week.
So what I'm hearing is you did the Stephen Bradbury. You didn't go out and get any of the guys you should have, and you still finished in first place.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda, or did I just know something you guys didn't?
The Oracle.
Mate, I didn't have the room. I didn't have the room to bring him in. We talked about it. I think we talked about it last week. Cotton was never going to come back in for me at this point. I was really big on holding him out now until Wildcats sort of schedule gets that bit better. Especially after, look, I don't take all the credit. I've mentioned you guys a lot. We work on these sort of things as a group. We made the big move last week to use the boost and try something different, especially for this podcast, which we all agreed was a great move. I got nervous, but definitely pulled the trigger. And that definitely meant not bringing Cotton back in. So, yeah, happy to make that move and got to get them ready now for round 4, which we'll get into.
For sure, man. Credit where credit's due. You've killed it, Rob.
We'll see. It's a long way to go. I reckon when you look at scheduling and players and all those types of things, rosters are going to be very big parts and schedules are going to play a big role. So stay strong if your team has dropped off a little bit because you can bounce back easily in a week in this game for sure. Let's get into our league. Our league is absolutely killing it. If you haven't joined our league yet, you might as well still jump in because you can win the weekly squeeze prize. You can be our squeeze of the week by scoring the best score for the week. Our code 680481. Massive shout out to we had 2 lads get up with a 425 this week as our score of the week. They actually had different teams too. I was shocked. I thought I'd click on it, see the exact same team. They scored the exact same with different teams. So massive shout out to the Woy Kings, Mr. Jack himself, and Paul from Me Emus. I'm assuming if you call yourself Me Emus, you get a little bit of an accent with that one for sure, Me Emus. But
don't ever do that again.
How much? Huh?
It's another segment we're not bringing back.
I know. You just got your first tech.
This is how badly people want the standard squeeze pack. We got hit up on socials by Jack. What? More than 24 hours ago? I'm pretty sure. Pretty much once the round finished, Jack's gone, boys, shout out. I think I've got score of the week and I want the pack. So to Jack, well done, mate. You are our squeezer of the week and you are getting a standard squeeze pack sent out to you. So unlucky Me Emus, Paul. You're just going to have to keep scoring big scores as we go along.
Slide into our DMs. We might find you a little something,
Yeah,
Paul.
we're normally pretty good at hooking people up still.
Like
big
a suit.
Let's have a look at the moment. We're going to go into a short Supercoach reviews. Let's go into the games. Matty, I'm going to start with you first. Where we started off the week, and I've got
wait.
Ooh,
Stop.
Go.
Let's review the week just gone. It's time for game talk.
This is why we need a rehearsal beforehand. You have been in the studio. I knew you'd been in the studio. I've got to remember the segments that you've hit us up. It is time for game talk. I like it. I don't know if we've had to prove that from the big boss, but it looks good to me. We're going to kick off with the Jack Jumpers versus the Hawks. A massive 103-73 in the way of the Jack Jumpers. Matty, take us through this one a little bit and what you saw.
That's a paddling. Look, what happened to Justin Robinson? I'm heartbroken, so you tell me, Hammer.
Man, I was so torn watching this. Like, on one hand, as the Jack Jumpers #1 supporter, now I'm getting off on this. Up 30 at quarter time. And on the other hand, Justin Robinson is just showing me that he hates me by laying an absolute egg. He had 5 turnovers before halftime and at one point had a negative Supercoach score. Man, I don't know, man. Why is he doing this to us?
Oh, those little point guards, rocks or diamonds. I think maybe we fell into the trap of seeing how good he was in the other games, and everybody just loaded up, thinking we were going to make like 45K. What did we make? 18 or something like that? Disappointing.
15. But I think what it comes down to is just how bad the Hawks are. And Jacob Thomas, I think he's out of his depth. Look, last year he got some accolades saying he kept a team together that went 3-412 or whatever it was. This year he's got the squad and he started off playing like it's under 10s where he's trying to keep the parents happy with even court time. It's come to crunch time. What he's doing isn't working. There's no adjustment. The players look unimpressed on the bench. And I just think this is an environment where we're not going to have a good enough team to be competitive and in games to be putting up the scores. I just don't think you can touch anyone on Illawarra really now.
No, I think you're spot on. I think the Jack Jumpers have a really good system at the moment. We won't dive too far into them because they have another game in the week, but they've just got that setup where they either blow a team out, but they never get blown out themselves. It's a really good setup. I think the coach has done a fantastic job with what he's got there. And I'm telling you, Doyle's that piece. I had the captaincy on him. That was that great start to the week for me. A few people did. I think he's starting to become that comfortable pick to put a C on, I reckon, this year.
He's really changed the way I look at the Jack Jumpers. Like in the past 2 seasons, you never knew who was going to pop up. Like the imports were never big scorers. And this year, him and Crawford, they're getting minutes. It's not even court time anymore. And they're producing. And even in that game that was a blowout, they still played almost 30 minutes each and stayed playing until probably 5 minutes left in the game. He didn't clear out the bench, didn't put the cue in the rack. I think he's Mr. Reliable, and if they're on a double game, you'd be pretty hard pressed not to go with Doyle on the captaincy.
I think the forwards haven't been doing that much. Oh, I suppose the centers and that haven't been doing a great deal for him. I know Marcus Lee got 24, but it just seems, you can load up on the Doyles, your Crawfords, and your McVeys on double game weeks, and you'll be just fine.
I think that's by design, though. The way they play is very perimeter oriented. It's a lot of that. That pick and roll, that kind of, that action is very perimeter oriented. Marcus Lee, he screens, he rolls, he dives. It'll be the same as Magnay when he comes back, but they're playing small ball 4 with McVeigh, who's pretty much a guard. So, your guards are where it's at with Tassie.
They've got another game, so we'll dive in. McVeigh is a name that I do want to mention in the next Jack Jumpers game, and I think you hit the nail on the head with their very perimeter focus. He's starting to become Supercoach consistent at the moment. We didn't really talk that much at the start about him with after a good round 1 performance. Before we move on to the next one, the big boss has chimed in himself when it was talking about the videos that were getting put up. Mr. Braino himself has put up there. Who do you think made it? And it definitely wasn't the Mattrix. So he's thrown you under the bus, the big boss man, Mr. Nathan Brain himself. I like it. I self-proclaiming the boss. He does a lot of work and a lot of great work behind the scenes and in front of the camera as well. So I'm glad we got that cleared up. It did look too good for the Mattrix to be putting that sort of stuff together. We move on though. Hammer, I'm going to you, mate. Kings are defeating the Baneless Bullets. Nice little note there, mate. Well done. Very good. 113 to 102.
Braino probably did that too.
Oh, sensitive Sally. We'll move on, Hammer. Let us know what you saw in this game, mate. Did the Bullets look different without Bain at the center?
They looked a bit different. It sort of changed a little bit of the way they get into stuff. But one of my favourite players, Shannon Scott, he stepped up. And this is what I've been talking about all year. The players who can hit the stat sheet and aren't relying on points. He dropped like a 42 or something, I think it was, and only had 2 actual points. The guy had 11 assists. He was unreal and only 2% owned. So if anyone jumped on him, I know he's a little bit more expensive around that, just over the 300 mark, but he's worth a look with this schedule coming good. He backed it up in the second game too.
I think if he did that in his first game, he would be the Milton Doyle that we're all talking about right now.
Yeah, he took a little while to get going, didn't he?
Yeah, scared everybody off with that single game week low score because we got to look at him. We probably panicked a bit. Him and Sobey didn't score that well. So
the other guy that you've been pretty high on was Sammy Mack. What happened there?
Well, he got 8. And probably it's great. I don't own him, so I was really happy with the 8. But look, that definitely stunts his cash generation.
Yeah. And then for the Sydney side, they had some scores from guys who I probably didn't want to score. Galloway went big again. Don't own him. Valentine laid an egg again. I think he's dead to me. I think we're done here. Yeah, we're breaking up. And then Adams. You had Adams, Rob.
He's not done for me. Like, he's not done for me at all. I think it's no different to sort of what you're saying. He's done in the way of like he might go, but he's definitely coming back. I'll be trading him out this week because of the schedule, but he'll come back in. I think he will consistently score enough. If you go back to the same algorithm that you're talking about and not being so reliant on always having to fill your points with just points, you can fill it in other ways. You're still going to have games where you drop off a little bit. But he doesn't drop off ridiculously. We all just expected him to do more. Now,
How
until
many
he does
lost
that,
guys
money.
can do this to you, though?
no,
Yeah.
I get it. I get it, but you can't tell me you aren't gonna look at somebody who's dropped in value and dropped in cash, the old buy low, sell high type analogy. If I'm going to be looking at somebody that's dropped in value that can still produce the points, he's somebody that at some point is going to come back into my side. I have no doubt.
This is the girlfriend that keeps cheating on you, and you keep bringing her back because she said it didn't mean anything. Fuck, man, you got to rip the Band-Aid off it and move on from Valentine. It's no.
And you know what? Once you walk away, she was a Gold Coast 3 anyway. So
Exactly.
I feel like we can make
It's like
way too
number
many
9.
analogies and we'd end up going on a 10-minute segment about ex-girlfriends and how that relates to Valentine. So I'm going to leave it alone because I got too many cray-crays that I could bring up. And at some point, they'll probably find their way to this podcast somehow. But I reckon we move on there and we're going to dive into the Wildcats defeated by Melbourne. Speaking about tough schedules this week, the Wildcats has one of those. People are pressing the panic button over here in WA, but we'll probably touch on that in the second game. But for now, we'll stick to this one, getting defeated 88-81. I think the big one for me was Pinder and how he sort of stepped up in this game. Cotton was being a little bit disappointing, but I'll go to you, Matty. What else did you see in this one?
look, Saar got 30 and Melbourne just kind of cruised. I was really hoping bringing in some of these Melbourne guys on a double game week that your Travis and your Huck Porties getting 24 and 17 would do a lot more. Delhi and Goulding were pretty good, and I do think this was the game. No, it's the next game that we're going to be talking about, Shea Ili, but it's probably this game that's going to make me less interested to talk about how good Shea Ili was in the next one because he only got 11 in this one.
Hammer, did it make you nervous seeing Huck Porty with a 0 at halftime?
More than nervous. I mean, look, we will bring up the second game where he seemed to redeem himself, but it is a worry. Sometimes he just, it's not that he's disengaged. Sometimes the ball just doesn't find him. And it's a concern with a team that just the way they play, it's very inconsistent in regards to the way that they score or attack. Like it seems like a next man up kind of thing, and it's never the same guy. So concerning, but at his price, he's going to keep rising, and he did redeem himself. So I'm not overly concerned.
Short answer, yes or no. Is Melbourne United the best team in the competition right now? Matt?
No.
Yep.
Okay, good. Leave it there. We're going to go into it later. That's good. I like it. Any more for this one? I know they've got other games. Perth don't. Do you want to touch on Perth? Oh, no, Perth have 2, Melbourne have 2. We're good. Let's move on. 36ers on the board. Flowers actually can play basketball. Look out with an 18-point fourth quarter. Who wants to take this one? Matty, you want this one?
Yeah,
Or who?
get it.
You go.
Look, the one week that I bring in 2 Illawarra get players to play the 36ers, and they were dog shit. Look, Lockie Ulbrich still made me some money. I suppose that's okay. But yeah, look, whatever that was Justin Robinson this week with 18. Yeah, I hate it. But I suppose the front court for Illawarra is something that you can look at if they get on a good run like they do towards the end of the year. Clark, Ulbrich, Froling playing pretty well. I'm off Justin Robinson. He's dead to me.
Hammer, I want to bring it up to you. Are you still there, Hammer? Give us a nod. You're just in a very nice fixed model position there. No, he's there. Good, because I want to throw to you because this is somebody that I'm possibly looking at this week. Trey Kell. Should we be running away or is he showing you something?
Look, in a week with only 3 teams on doubles, and this round 4 is going to be a bit of a pivotal one for a lot of coaches out there. Trey Kell is not the worst option. He seems to have a role in that team, and we keep saying, Adelaide are going to bring an import in, but I don't think it's going to be this round now. It's too little too late, but Kell's put up some numbers. He's scoring well. He's sort of dabbling in the other stat lines, but you could do a lot worse, especially if you're downgrading from Creek or can't afford Creek.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's more or if you're trying to afford Creek and you're getting rid of 2. So we talked about it. Valentine and, Adams probably go out this week. So I can actually bring in a really strong double game week player, which might be Creek. But then once you make that move, then you got to find somebody who you think you can get a bit of value from. And for me, it was Trey Kell at the moment.
And
that's where I stand in a very simple look. Yeah.
This is probably something we'll talk about on the next preview show. Is your captains. Like Creek's the obvious one. It's daylight for second, but if you can't afford Creek, we probably need to bring that up on Wednesday. Tune in for that.
Well, you've got it here. We do have it. You go, Matt. I'll move on to the next one after this.
I think both Trey Kell, Humphreys, and Wiley's, all their break-evens been in 40. I know I swore off Adelaide players, and I probably won't do it because I'm a man of my word. But all their break-evens been in the 40s. You could probably not lose any money, still get some good players on double game weeks in the next week, couldn't you?
Yeah, speaking of, I'm just throwing a couple of comments to those that are watching us along live, just so that you see a few of them. We'll probably get to answering them. I think Hammer made a really good point there. We'll certainly get it to our leading game to the next round as well. Spot on. If you're going to go Cal, you're looking at Cummings. You might be looking at Brown. Cal not being like flexibility and being a guard forward. They're all really valid points. Spot on. But I'm looking week by week at the moment. That's where I'm at. So we move on. Speaking of
Flowers.
Yeah, nah. Let's not go too far. Let's not go too far. You got to.
He's got a negative 2 break even.
What's he got?
It's a trap.
Yeah.
Flowers has a negative 2 break even coming into next week.
But to quote "White men can't jump," the sun shines on a dog's ass some days, man. Like, shit, he was due, right? Like,
yeah,
it's not going to happen again.
And is he playing Illawarra twice again next week? Is that what's going on, or no? Like, I mean, it's there. Exactly.
I haven't checked the schedule that far, but probably.
I'm going to assume it's not. I hope I haven't walked into one there. Let's move on. We've got South East Melbourne. We've been talking about a few of their players, one being Creek. South East Melbourne defeating the Jank Jumpers by 1, having that opportunity to send it to overtime. I mean, you talked about Creek. I'll throw to you first, Hammer. Talk to us a little bit about this game and obviously playing against your boys.
Yeah, bit of a heartbreaker. I didn't expect this result. I expected the Jack Jumpers to run away with it. The big one out of this was Jordan Crawford, right? This guy, well, it's a bit of a pun, isn't it, when you say the big one? He balled out. He is really, really growing in that system, and I feel like he is going to become very Supercoach relevant, and he's going to be going up in price. So with Jack Jumpers on a double round 5, I believe, it's possible to bring him in. That's what I'm liking out of that. And Doyle, again, Mr. Consistent, struggled a bit compared to his first game, but still managed to bring it together in the end.
Well, we talked about the Jack Jumpers a lot in that after that first week and how we said, and the commentator said it during the game. We talked about it on this podcast about how we wanted to see the ball in Doyle's hand a lot more. They look like a better team. But I think since those moments, I think they're both learning how to have the ball in their hand. I think Crawford's even actually getting more assists than Doyle at the moment as well. So I think he's learning how to score a bit more off his dribble. He's also learning how to score off the catch and shoot. And he's learning how to find his teammates at the moment. So I think you're spot on. He's going to become very much Supercoach relevant as we go on.
Talking of Southeast Melbourne on the other side of the coin, though, a bit of news out of there this week. We saw there was no Tyler Cook, no Alan Williams, but it looks like we have seen the last of Cook potentially. Yeah.
I feel like
Alan Williams.
I feel like that needed your breaking news segment there, mate. But we missed it. We'll get it next time.
I'll get my jacket. I'll be back.
Yeah.
So
sure.
talk me through that really quickly before we move on to Maddie's points on this one. Then we'll get to the next game. With what he produced and how he looked as a player, we talked a bit about this over text. Why doesn't another team, especially a team that might be struggling, look to pick up someone like a Cook and get rid of their current imports?
I think another team would be looking at Cook. I just don't think the interest is going to be mutual. This is a guy who probably signed for less money on a short-term deal because it fitted in with his Euro out clauses, his season over there. And you think about who needs a genuine big. What are we looking at? Adelaide? From what he's seen, he's probably got no interest there. Do Brisbane have an import spot up their sleeve if Baines is out for a bit? Can he go there? I don't know. I just don't see any places for him.
Yeah, I don't see too much for him. I think that he will ship off back overseas to someplace that's sunnier and not as cold as Melbourne.
You can probably have a seat next to Dr. Doolittle. He's going to be on the way home soon.
Yeah, agree with you there. I'm glad we had an excellent little Tasmania circle jerk there, but let's get to the real questions. Can we pick one between Gary Brown and Will Cummins? Rob, you first. Gary Brown or Will Cummins if you got to bring one in next week?
Yeah, it's a really tough call. Like, Cummings definitely passes the eye test for me, and Gary Brown's definitely passing the points test for me at the moment. And I actually like his value as well. I was looking at bringing in Gary Brown. He might be on my list at some point. I'll go. It's a toss of the coin, isn't it? I'll take Brown.
Okay. Hammer.
Look, I was high on Brown leading into this season. Injury interrupted, disappointing preseason, but Brown has a massive ceiling and he can go. Cummings, I think, he's not going to force the issue as much. And I think what you see is what you get. He'll give you that 25 to 35 most nights. I think Brown has the ability to go big.
Do you know what? Do you know what I love about this league compared to AFL and NRL and things like that? Is there's no part of me that actually looks to my head-to-head matchups for where I go and make any decisions. It's all about going to try and win the competition. So when you say their hammer, Brown's got more of a ceiling. Cummings might give you a little bit more consistency. You go for the ceiling player in this league. You go for that, let's go for it. There's no guts, no glory. Let's pick it with a bit of an educated guess. Yeah, so that's where I am for sure. And I think it actually pays off in some of your decisions.
As long as that ceiling risk option is not Justin Robinson.
Yeah. Look, Will Cummins does have a higher floor. I think that you're a lot more likely of getting a 12 out of Gary Brown than you are Will Cummins. I'm looking at possibly even bringing both in this coming week. So
why not both?
Yeah,
exactly. Mikasa Sukasa.
Sure. Yeah. Get the quote right. Come on, you're better than that. It's not my house.
I'm
your
not Mexican.
¿Por qué no los dos? Lift the little girl up in the air and let's get some tacos in this joint. Let's do it. It's Taco Tuesday. We move on.
It's Monday.
I know. I'm just getting it. It's actually Friday here in Perth, mate. But we move on. Melbourne took on your Bullets, mate. Melbourne getting the job done, 89 to 78. Sobey with another 30. I know you're excited about that. Captain option for you, mate?
Yeah, well, he was a great captain option. Not in the upcoming week, but it just shows that you can bring Sobey in on any given week and he's going to produce. I didn't expect Sobey to benefit probably as much from Baines being out as he did. But yeah, it was really good.
Anything you saw in that one, Hammer, as well?
Oh, man, it was a horrible game. Both the Sunday games were hard to watch. Brisbane sucked. They made it respectable in the last quarter. Even Supercoach wise, they stacked some points on late, but it was looking bleak for the first half. All out of sorts.
They were down 20 odd. Tyrell Harrison made 20K if we're clutching at some straws there. Shannon Scott got 70 for the week. So your boy, with 28 in this one, 42 in the first one. That was really good.
Man, 70 for the week. That's packaging it nicely. That's like me saying when Delhi and I played each other at Nationals, we had 36 points between us and he had 34 of them. Like, man, come on.
He did get 70 for the week. No lies.
The big one came out. Huckporty. I was going to go to Delhi, but let's go Huckporty first. Let's do that.
Huckporty 28 continues to make cash. Delhi was ordinary, or did they just not need him?
He went out with concussion.
Yeah, okay.
So that's the concern for me, and a lot of people are talking about.
Do you get 7 days in NBL?
I think there's actually genuine concern for what comes next. We're talking about a guy that missed pretty much a whole season due to concussion. Didn't look good. They got him out of that stadium as quickly as possible and actually took him home. He was home before that game even finished. I think there's a lot more to look into what's going to go on here. He didn't take the fall. He broke the fall, took a solid shin to the face. And look, we wish him all the best in these kind of moments. But when people are starting to talk about Travers and things like that now, they become way more relevant without a Delhi on the court. I think we're going to see Delhi miss a few games.
Have a look at what happened with Shea Ili last year. And Melbourne United will bring him back. He comes back half a game. He's not right. It was a debacle for anyone who owned him as a super coach option. But I think Melbourne have shown they will be leaning on the side of caution with this, and I wouldn't expect Delhi back anytime soon. If we're talking about beneficiaries, Luke Travers playing a little point forward. Bubbles has been good, but also Ian Clark didn't light the world up, but he got some burn off the bench.
That's the one I was going to talk about with Delhi out. Surely Clark gets a few more minutes. Does he still come off the bench? I assume he does, but I think he actually gets a lot more opportunity to be offensive.
Yeah. Shea Illy's probably the main beneficiary, though, and you touched on him before, Mattrix.
Yeah, is he an option now?
What price are we looking at for a Shea Illy? Because he's an interesting one. He does not pass the eye test. His jump shot looks like he's struggling to make the distance and brings rain down with it. But is effective. He gets some assists. His defense is good. And more than anything, we're talking opportunity. He already gets good minutes. He's going to get extended burn. He's probably an option if the price is right.
He's got a nice beard. He's 212K. He's got a break even at 30, coming up to a double game week.
Yeah,
could do worse.
You could do a lot worse. Like Flowers.
We move into the last game. Sydney Kings getting the job done against Perth. There was a point there where scores were tied. Sydney had some players getting fouled out, but Sydney getting the job, 99-86. Adams again rising to the occasion. Somebody we sort of tout as a possible, previous MVP, could have another MVP-like season. Not many people picking Bolden to obviously be these top scorers off the bench, but he's producing some serious numbers as well. And is Valentine garbage? I don't think so. But I'm going to go to you, Hammer. What did you see in the last game of the round?
Yeah, look, didn't enjoy it. It was hard to watch, but Bolden, that's the big news. What do you have, like 12 points, 15 boards, and 36 Supercoach points?
Yeah.
And if you dig a little deeper into the box score, that was all done in about 17 or 18 minutes. So we're really seeing Hunter and Bolden share time. But Bolden is really coming on. I think he's starting to find his feet, and perhaps that minute spread starts to change a bit, and someone you could probably be looking at before the price gets too high.
Yep.
Hunter got 30 as well, though, too. That's probably a big concern with Bolden because, I thought it would be the shots that are the issue with Bolden. But this game, he proved he could do it all. So.
Yeah, but Hunter's still effective. They look for him. He rolls well, and he's learned to catch the ball all of a sudden. I think while they're winning, they're not going to mess with the formula too much. It might be a little bit of an adjustment, but if he's going to play 20 minutes and give you 36 Supercoach points, it's, that's a shift sideways from maybe a Baines or if anyone who had held him over the whole suspension round.
If we transfer a little bit from Supercoach to actual just basketball chat, the biggest issues that the Wildcats have at the moment is just defense. And they were bringing the likes of Pinder in. They were bringing the likes of Usher in to be stronger on that defensive end. And it's just not happening. And from a Wildcat culture, which is so centered around defense with the likes of Damian Martin and things like that, that's probably what the Wildcat fans are most panicking about at the moment. Not so much they lost to Melbourne, not so much they lost to Sydney, but the fact that they're just defensive end just looks horrendous. It's like the worst thing that could have ever happened to the Wildcats is Usher scoring 35 on his debut, that he now thinks he's this offensive god and kind of shuts down that first mantra that he came for, which is, I'm going to shut down the best player week in, week out. I don't know. Thoughts?
Can I give you a silver lining? At least Henschel made 2K this week.
Life's a little
Speaking of, we'll put this one in. If we go back to the girlfriend, shout out to a flying toilet. I wanted to say AFL-ing toilet, then I worked out what it was. A flying toilet. With the girlfriend analogies, we had Henschel. Henschel is a good girl, good grades, pretty lost of hobbies that really completely ignoring for the same girls that aren't giving you much. I just saw that earlier, and I just had to wait until this game to bring it up. But Wildcat issues, mate.
Yeah. Going back to that analogy, though, this is going to be like the Taylor Swift in that film clip or all those movies where the dorky girl, all she has to do is take off the glasses and she's an absolute glamour. Like, he just needs some court time and everyone's going to realize this was the stud you had all along. But very disappointing court time, didn't produce.
What's the one where he has to like pick the girl and turn her into the prom queen? Like the funny one, it's like, oh my God, you picked the girl with the ponytail and the glasses. No way, you can't turn this around.
Is that High School Musical 4?
That's what it is.
You got me. You
It's
got me.
Vanessa Hutchins. Go Wildcats. Oh, man.
Jalen Galloway got 22 again. He got 50 odd for the week. He would have been a better captain than Justin Robinson. So he continues to make cash. Tui had a good week too. Getting 40 for the week. There's a lot of good options on the Kings. Not that many for the Saar's still generating money. He's got a break even, I think, of 2 this week. So we're talking about Jalen Galloway making money. Saar made 33K this week. He made 65K the week before, and he's still got a break even of 2. If you want to bring these guys in, you can still make some cash. So he is a guy that you can bring in and continue to get that cash generation. Maybe a better option than a 1-week play like we all tried to make 40K out of Justin Robinson this week.
Talking to cash generation, there are some plays this week. We'll cover it a bit more on Wednesday, but remember, we have New Zealand returning, albeit on a single. Parker Jackson Cartwright has a break even of negative 3,009. He's someone I'm going to be looking at if I've got enough trades. And if anyone has sort of set themselves up with enough guys on doubles, it's a possible look before everyone else tries to bring him in at a higher price next week.
We got a stack of guys in our league who are sitting quite high up in the rankings. Now, those ones who are right up the top, they've got the ability. I think they've even got some solid, defense on their bench that can come on and they're good to go. Players like myself who are kind of in a good echelon, but not right at the top. I think I'm going to take the risk on possibly someone like the Hyphen himself because, yes, I might take a little bit of an off score this week, but it sets me up for the weeks after, and I think I'm ready to go. So don't be afraid to drop a little bit in your round score for what sets you up for 2 or 3 weeks after that, because you'll just, again, jump 266 spots, make a big move and go. So I think you're spot on. I think it's a massive shout to get in and get him early and get the cash that comes with a decent score as well.
It gives the opportunity next week then when everyone else is bringing him in, you can then start to work with your bench and solidify your team for that next 4 or 5 rounds where we're looking at Cairns, we're looking at New Zealand as the dominant schedule.
While you're talking about it, though, what do you say to this? A really good point. New Zealand, though, does have the single game against Melbourne United. It is a tough matchup. What's your thoughts?
He's not Justin Robinson, so he's not going to get minus 40, so should be okay.
And if you bring him in, you possibly just put him on your bench. So he's going to make cash anyway. He's in your squad, ready for next week, and he'll probably give you a solid bench score.
Look, that's our round 3 wrap. I reckon it's time to get into a few questions. I want to make a few comments first. We also want to get to our community team as well. But before we do that, if you're liking the show, we've got so many viewers in here now. We've got some awesome questions that we're going to get to in a minute. If you'd like to support the show, make sure you hit subscribe. We actually ticked over 1,000 subscribers from Insight Fantasy Sport. It's a massive shout out to everyone who has clicked subscribe. It's amazing what that does for us, not only for morale, but obviously to keep the show going as well. Also, if you're watching to us on YouTube or you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple, Google, make sure you hit the follow button and give us a review. These are the kind of things that keep the show going and us being able to bring you all the sports that we do, and we appreciate that support greatly. Matty, can I throw to you, mate? Talk to us about our community team.
So last week we brought in Justin Robinson and Lockie Ulbrich.
Whose idea was that?
It was voted on, but 341 down, 341 Supercoach points, down 400 spots to 800th, and captaining Robinson hurt. It should be noted, not to throw stones at me, but Robinson and Doyle got exactly the same amount of votes for captain, and I put it on Robinson.
I love your honesty, though. I do. I love your honesty. And it might be because you're 7 cans deep, but I love it. I really appreciate it. You lie all day trying to sell cars. So it's good that you come on the podcast and you tell the absolute truth. I love it. I love it.
It's like confessional. Come here to repent.
Forgive me, Hammer, for I have sinned.
Go and say 3 holy Doyles, Matthew.
Yeah, look, speaking of prayers, I did see a comment there. I think it's only 2s. I'm gonna leave that just for the YouTube channel. So yeah, you don't need to be on all 4s, you can just be on 2s. So, for confessional, let's leave that.
For everyone, this is the time where we should make mention to everybody on Spotify listening along in the cars. This might be the point to step out. The content's going to start switching across to everybody in our chat. We're going to start trying to answer some of the questions to our live. People are giving us a massive shout out of how they love the live content. We keep getting viewers like this and we keep getting input like this. We are going to continue the live shows throughout this season as much as possible because we love it. This is awesome. And this is what we want. We want it to be the people's show. We want to be able to answer the questions. Obviously, we get a lot more into trades, the moves that we've made right up in our next episode that we're going to do on Wednesday again this week. But look, we'll try and dive into a couple now. We'll give you a bit of insights to what we're thinking from a trade standpoint. I'll be honest, I haven't looked too far. I had a very, very busy week. But I know, Maddie, you've had some sort of thoughts. And Hammer, I'll go to you after that. And then we're going to throw out to some questions from there. But I'll throw to you, Maddie, first.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to report a trade.
Look, Valentine, I'm off him. And Justin Robinson, I'm off him too. I'm thinking somebody like Gary Brown and bringing in one of like a Cummings, Parker Jackson Cartwright, a Bubbles, a Humphreys, a Wiley, or a Trakel. I know that I am being very vague, but I just honestly don't know where I'm going to roll the dice. I don't hate boosting for Parker Jackson Cartwright if I elect to go really hard this week. I do think the play is to boost the following week, but if that gets you Parker Jackson Cartwright and that price rise, I think that is a worthy boost. That is the only boost that I would be looking at this week. What are you looking at doing with your trades, Hammer?
Well, the first one's definitely going to be a rage trade. I don't care if Valentine's on a triple or a quadruple round next week. He is gone. So he's out. And Robinson is out for similar reasons. I'm looking at bringing in Parker Jackson Cartwright on my bench. I'm pretty set up. I've already got 4 Melbourne, Southeast Melbourne's potential starters for next round. So I've got that luxury of only really needing to bring in one playable guy. So I'll be looking at probably a forward position. And I'm not sure where I'm going to go. You know, Wiley, I don't like, but he's probably one of the only options on a double to bring in. I don't know yet. Well, all will be revealed Wednesday.
Yeah, I've only got the 2 double game week players at the moment in Luke Travers and Huck Porty. So I've got to make some moves, and that's based off the fact of making that boost move early. So I won't be using my boost. It's going to be very heavily around looking at break evens and making sure I keep those players in that are going to get me cash as long as they're going to give me a decent score. And then I think I'm going to have to go to double game week players as well. I think it has to be done so that I get at least 4 out of my 5 starters will be double game week players. So I think at the moment, it looks like Valentine and Adams will drop out for me. And I think at the moment, I could bring in Mitch Creek and Trakel just for the money situation of what I've got because I'm only down to about $5,000. That's kind of where I'm sitting at the moment. Galloway's got a tiny break even, so he's staying in for me because I want to make sure I get that cash grab, get him for his double game week, and then I'll move on from there. But yeah, I think Doyle's going to stay in, and I'm going to move Adams and Valentine.
Here's a hypothetical. I'll throw it to both of you. Big Sauce. Let's say he comes back this week. He's coming in at about 350K. Would you roll the dice on a double week as a point of difference?
No. Hope this helps.
No.
It doesn't. Why?
Look, I think at 380K, they will just ease him in a little bit. And he's going to have to score very well in those first weeks. It's not like he's got 4 games to redeem himself as he comes through and that first score drops out or anything like that. Look, I just do think it's a little early. I hope he drops in cash. I hope they ease him into it and that we can pick him up for early 300s later.
I think the fact that Cook's moving on is exactly right. They're not going to rush it. They're not going to run a risk. He is forward center as well, isn't he? He can go forward. So he's not just center. So if you've got Huck Porter, you still can bring him in. Yeah, I reckon I'm just going to go with what's a little bit proven. If he was a little bit less in cash, you'd maybe take the risk. But no, I'm going to go with what's proven.
Was Gorjak Gak.
Yeah.
He had a shocker. He'll drop in cash, but he's around the 140 mark. Dual position.
Yeah, and dropping in cash from 140. Bricks.
Speaking of, we're talking a little bit
threw
now.
Up a turd.
We'll throw in a couple of questions. We've got Brano in there. This one came up a little bit earlier, and we're talking about this type of thing right now. With only 2 decent teams on a double this week, obviously referring to who we got? Melbourne and Southeast Melbourne. Obviously, Adelaide being the other team with a double game week. Do we just cop a bit of a down week this week and set up the boost for round 5, or try and use it this week as a moving week? I'll go to you, Maddie, because I know you're thinking about possibly using the boost, and maybe Hammer is as well, but I'll go to you, Maddie.
Look, I've saved Mitch Creek and copped a single game week on a guy that was 380K. So I'm pretty well poised for this week with Travis, Huck Porty, Mitch Creek. Look, even Ben Air is probably not worth trading out just yet. But I'm not sure that it's boost worthy unless you're going Parker Jackson Cartwright. Like, you used your boost early, Rob, and you're reaping the benefits of it now. I just don't think that you panic if you scored, like I scored 297, Hammer scored 300, but we haven't used that boost. I'd like to think that we could come back a lot of points with that boost. I'm just not sure this is the week for it, unless you're really going to gun for that number 1 spot.
Yeah, you're right. I actually did use the boost a couple of weeks ago when Armstrong ruined my life. So it wasn't in the plans, but I'm not going to be using a second one this early. But you are in that absolute luxury position of holding Creek. So, and there's your guaranteed captain. I think if you're someone like me who has 4 guys who are potentially startable without a really clear-cut captain like a Creek, that's probably more of an issue.
Look, no jokes aside, would you ever bring in Craig Moller this week? Sorry, I said no jokes aside. I'm kidding.
Week, no.
Cool, excellent. Thanks to AFL.
I was just having a look as well. Like, surely with Southeast Melbourne playing Adelaide and Brisbane as well, Mitch Creek's your lock for captain. I think if you got to bring him in, and he's got to be your lock for sure, in my opinion.
But do you do that at the expense of structuring your team moving forward to round 5?
I don't think if I hold on. So you got to remember, then I've still got with that move. Galloway will stay on my bench. Saar will stay on my bench. I mean, I've even got like Norton and Henschel sitting there on my bench. It sort of still gets me a good score this week, and even making 2 trades, I'm straight back to double game weeks. From there, it's just a 1 week where I'm going to have 4 starters, not 5, with double game weeks, and the rest will be single. I think you've got to get the Mitch Creek. So you got to go big. You got to make sure you get that player that you think's going to get that big score to hopefully make up for someone else. If he goes bust, yeah, I'm in trouble. But I think that's the educated move. And that's kind of that position I'm in.
Early on, Matty, more than anything, if 90% of the competition's got him, you probably need to just to break even.
Yep. Yeah. I'll make up my ground elsewhere, but Mitch Creek is a must.
Yeah. Shout out to Alex Newton. Same thing. Cricket captain is 4 times more important than bench player scores. Couldn't agree more. I think that summed it up really well. Even before that, he just sort of threw in. Yeah. Sorry, Matt. You go.
Go on. Keep going. Yeah. He's moving on Adams and Creek to Cotton, and every week you do want the best C option. But can I just do a little tip, because, we've mentioned Adelaide, Southeast Melbourne, and Melbourne. Yeah, just the tip, guys. Sorry, I didn't make up a film for that. But that's on my deep dark hard drive there. But just the tip here, you can trade your guy out and just select Adelaide, Southeast Melbourne, and Melbourne so that you're only looking at those guys playing. It does make it a lot easier to have a look around and I suppose adjust your trades from there. I've got lots of handy jewels, so I found myself, trading Justin Robinson out, for example, adjusting Denzel Valentine up, Lockie Ulbrich up, so that I could look at everybody that plays on double game weeks this week to start thinking about guys I can get for the week ahead.
Yeah. I think the big thing people have to start looking at, we'll talk about it more too, which is there aren't even that many double game weeks from round 5 either. So it's not like you can really start stacking it in. When you start looking at, you got Brisbane, Cairns, New Zealand, that's it. They're the only ones that from round 5 have double game weeks. So you've really got to have a look at going, who can I keep on my bench and handle a single game week? For me, that's Doyle. Doyle goes from, a single game week in round 4 to a double game week in round 5. Then I'll start to maybe have a look because he's got 2 single game weeks in a row. But I can see him staying in my side and comfortably for these next 2 weeks, and I'll handle his single game week for sure because I get his double and we move on. Make sure you have a look ahead. You have to.
There's not too many players you can play on a single. And Doyle's one, Cotton's probably another, Jalen Adams possibly. But if you're going to play anyone on a single, that's probably your guy.
I don't know if we're getting ahead of ourselves, but maybe we've got to, let's make a note. Maybe we don't answer this unless someone's got a really quick answer to it. When you look at the roster, and we talked about it a lot, we've talked about New Zealand. The team we haven't really talked about a lot from round 5 is Cairns. Cairns from round 5 to round 13 only have 1 single game week. And I know we've talked about Taron Armstrong, but is there anyone else that they should be looking at right now to bring in their side? Hammer, you're nodding furiously. I think we just need to throw that in there, and then maybe we go to some questions because we haven't really talked about it much, and we surely are as we go through these next couple of weeks. But is there somebody that they could throw in? You obviously don't do it now. You do it round 5. But who should people be making sure they've got cash for, and who should people make sure they've got in their brain to get ready for round 5 to bring them in?
Yeah, big one's Clintman, the next star. He's going to have a low break even after his last round before they went to the States. He's balling. He's got his role sorted. And the other one is Miller, the point guard. He's solid. They're probably the 2 I'll be looking at.
Miller's a lot better than Taj McCall. I need to see Taj McCall drop some cash before I consider him.
I need to see Taj McCall cut.
I reckon even if you've used a boost, but definitely if you haven't used a boost, I reckon you should actually be saving it to round 5. 100%.
Yeah.
That's your time now where you've really got to look at the roster and go, who are the teams and the players that I need from there to get 3 of them in now that I'm just only moving 2 pieces for quite some time. So don't rush the gun with a boost this week. I don't reckon you have to. I think we're all going to take a little bit of a hit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If we're going back to some of the questions that we've had along the way, we start to have a look at Corey Blackledge earlier up on the chat, and I have lost it now, so this is excellent. He started to bring in who is a really good alternative for Delhi, and do you need, like, my question is, do you need to look outside of Melbourne? Because do you just go with his replacement, which will be Shea Ili?
I'd say so. I think Shea Ili is a little bit cheaper too, isn't he? So you get a bit extra cash.
210K, you're paying 40.
And you're going to hold him. Like we were saying, this Delhi thing is not going to resolve itself overnight. So you can hold Shea Ili on doubles for the next couple of rounds before you pivot elsewhere. But it's not a bad option because if you look, your only real options at that sort of guard spot are going to be Brown or Cummings in Southeast Melbourne, Shea Ili, or no one in Adelaide.
I'm going Clark. I'm taking Clark over Ili. I think Ili will come on and do a good job. I think he'll go all right, but I'm taking Clark over Ili. I think from a pure standpoint.
Log out for that comment, Rob. That's terrible.
Is this where I stand?
Yeah, cool. So moving on. After that, Matty Granger's comment here becomes very relevant. Nice that you bothered to show up, but it's good to see you. Good to see you leave there, Rob. You deserve 10 in the bin for that, or a yellow card for our friends from the EPL.
Mate, if we were playing a yellow card and a lockout system, you were gone 42 seconds into this episode, my friend. So let's be very careful if this is going to be a precedent that we start setting. Look,
I hate to see you go, Rob, but I love to watch you leave.
Let's look. Let's have a little bit of. We'll have a little bit of a laugh, and we'll see how it goes, and we'll check back in a little bit of time. But look, I don't know. I just a little bit of a comment. See how we go.
Speaking of
I love
round
this one.
four's
This is
field goal, now I know your answer. But Hammer, really interested to see who you think is this week's fool's gold, and why is it Trenton Flowers?
Yeah, look, Trenton Flowers is the obvious one. The bloke hit 5 threes. I think he was trying to pass every single one of them. Look, the guys to steer it clear of would be falling into the trap of Mitch McCarron, falling into the trap of Ian Clark, Rob. Or, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm going to go with Gary Clark, but that one could backfire. We talked about that.
Yeah. Gaz could be. He did get 60, but I suppose Illawarra's schedule is going to make you think that you're not going to get him in.
Yeah.
Global's got a good one here. Is it worth bringing in Parker Jackson Cartwright this week and getting in a cash grab, or bring in a double gamer and get the points? If you had to do one, because I personally think the better option is Mikasa Sukasa. You do your fucking Mexican thing, Rob. But my personal thing is I think that you can do both because you have two trades. But would you bring in Parker Jackson Cartwright or a double game week player this week, Rob?
Sorry, I just checked out a little bit, just copping a couple of whacks here and there, but that's all right. Is it worth bringing Parker Jackson to get some cash? We talked about it. I like it. I think it's a right option. For me, it's not, because I need to cover my team. I think you got to make sure you got enough guys in there that are playing the double game week in your starting lineup. Big shout out to the comment that was in there. I probably hadn't looked that far, the fact they're playing Melbourne as well. But it all depends on your team. Hammer's given a perfect example where his team is at. For me, if you can slot it in and you've got enough guys in there to cover with the double game week, I think this is the absolute week to bring him in. It's just too many one game week for me.
And it depends who your double gamer is you're bringing in too. Like maybe you need to take a longer term view of the next 2 rounds, and potentially the guy you're bringing in, him and Parker Jackson Cartwright both have 3 games over the 2 rounds. So it's probably, not as big of a deal. But depending on the makeup of your squad, really.
Am I right? I'm right in saying, let's not forget, and this might sound silly, and I know they're playing low. Let's not forget they're flying back from America. It's a big turnaround. They're going to be protecting their players. If they get down in that game early against the United and things like that, they might put them on ice a little bit. There's no point. I reckon that Breakers team is a very good team. So look, if they get behind, they just could put him on the bench. It's a tough team to come up against after doing that flight back from Vegas.
They fly every week, bro.
Not to Vegas. Not to Vegas. It's a big week there of playing and gambling, and they didn't see sleep. Let's be honest, for sure. Clayton Oliver, I think, was hanging out with him somewhere.
Let's go back. A flying toilet is saying that cash gen's very important, almost worth using 1 or 2 boosts. I don't think that you should have 2 boosts used by round 5. A flying toilet.
Yeah, cash generation is important, but not at the expense of also making points. There are certain players you can look at where you'll get both, like your Parker Jackson Cartwrights, your Bobby Clintmans. Just remember, round 4 is meant to be the return of Josh Bannon in Brisbane, who we all flagged early on as a guy who's going to be playing, bringing in cash. So these guys have been injured or have had poor schedules of coming back. And we're getting that second wave of cash cows now who are going to play. So keep your eye out on those guys.
I'm not going to lie. I might use my second boost round 5. There's a chance.
Okay.
There is a chance to just try and set it up from there. And I think if I actually get in and crunch the numbers a little bit further, and I'm sure there's enough people out there as well helping with those types of things, I think it could really set your team up, that actually using the 2 boosts, putting yourself in a good position to be able to just make 2 trades as you go along for a little bit.
Yeah.
And fortune does favor the brave, and that's really brave. I just wonder when Illawarra go and play like 4 or 5 double game weeks at the end of the season and you've used your boost, I think that's when people will be having a run at you. So,
and that's when Stephen Bradbury does his best work right at the end.
Yeah. Have you had his beer? It's actually excellent. It's called Last Man Stands. And there's very rarely a beer in Australia that I haven't tried. But Last Man Stands. Stay away from the mid-strength one. But, get on their full-strength one. Yeah, I reckon it's an 8 out of 10. So, stick by for more beer reviews by Mattrix.
And look, to honestly answer that, though, at the same time, I think if you have a good look forward as what's coming up, and you're spot on with Illawarra finishing out with so many double game weeks. No, I just want to answer that question honestly, because I think there's a really good point there. Week 13, week 14, that's when the time that people are going to take a hit. There's only 2 double game week teams in those weeks. Then you go into 3 weeks of 6 double game weeks, including Illawarra. So you don't actually need to stack your team with that many at that point. everyone will be okay. So I wouldn't freak out too much as you go forward. If you do the numbers and have a look, it's when it gets down to the only 2 teams again. That's when you might have an issue and you want your boost in there, but you'll get it back if you've structured the team right. So look, get on top early. We've got all these viewers right now. We've got everybody that's excited for what they can do. There'll be a few that delete out come round 5, round 6, round 7, but not our viewers. They're sitting strong and sitting near the top of the pop.
Speaking of people giving me a spray, Huge here, or Coach G, just remember, Mattrix, whatever I end up deciding, do the opposite because I haven't been making good decisions, mate. And then, people just asking if Mattrix rubbing off on you to the point where you want to make these horrible decisions. Massive no to Big Sauce there. Look, yeah. Look, I enjoy the comments and keep feeding it in. I actually love it. Breathe it in.
It's good. If we all sat here and said the exact same things and just agreed with each other, it would make for a very boring show. We have good bands with each other. We throw comments in our chat to each other all the time. You know, I threw out stupid comments like McCarran, and it hasn't quite come back and bit me in the ass. But I don't think it bites you in the ass as much as it did AFL. You make one comment on an AFL podcast, and people just come at you for the next 42 rounds. But in this one, we kind of be able to move on and just get good scores and keep on keeping on. But I feel like Ian Clark's going to keep coming up in the next few rounds.
Yeah, it's coming. You can redeem yourself here if you had to choose between Robinson or Valentine. Who do you trade out, and why is it Justin Robinson? Rob,
do you want me to answer that one? I don't even have Robinson, so I don't have to. If I don't have Robinson, so I don't have to make this decision. But for me, it is absolutely Robinson. If I did had him, just for exactly what I said off the top of the show, I feel confident. Disappointed that Valentine isn't giving me what I thought he would give me, but at least he's giving me some consistency. Robinson should have been doing this, and he just went straight through the bottom. So for me, it's Robinson out if I had to choose between the two. But ¿por qué no los dos? Get rid of them both.
Let's go back. People are rolling their eyes about Ulbrich and Henschel. Look, with these 69K guys, we kind of had to expect this a little bit. Ulbrich getting 16 in one game was promising. The fact that he got 0 in one game, not fantastic. Henschel, look, if you told me at the start of the week that he was going to get 12, I probably thought it was going to come 6 and 6, not 10 and 2.
No. These guys are going to sit on my bench. I reckon, these guys could sit on my bench all season. I actually genuinely think they could nearly. I need to go have a look, but like Ulbrich actually wasn't that bad in his 0. He had like 3 or 4 turnovers. That's what hurt him. It's not like he didn't actually produce some stats, and therefore, got better in that second game. Henshaw just comes down to exactly what Hammer said before, which is the guys just got to get some minutes. And I tell you what, if the Wildcats keep producing what they're producing, they're going to have to reshuffle the dice a little bit. And he's somebody that, dare I make the comparison from a white guy to a white guy, he might become at least that Austin Reeves that you know what you're going to get, slot him in somewhere with some more minutes and move the other guys around, because right now they ain't clicking.
Another poor man's been here.
It might not be the most talented guy, but they've got to work out a 5 that's working. It's not working. Their effort is horrendous.
I'm touching on Ulbrich. His fortunes are tied to how bad Illawarra are. It's hard for a bloke to do anything when they can't get the ball over halfway. So, keep an eye on how that team's traveling, because his performance is going to be that tied to the way the rest of the team's traveling.
Brown and Cummings have been bad. Is the only reason we're not bringing Crawford in this week is this upcoming draw for Tasmania? Because I love what Crawford's been doing. But Bryce 485 in the chat, it's just schedule based as to why we're not bringing in Crawford this week, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
I would take Crawford over Cummings and Brown if he had the double. But I feel like if Crawford will probably give you a 25 to 35, I feel like the other two will outproduce that over 2 games.
Spot on.
Yep. Last questions coming in. Any shot that Flowers gets a start this week after his game on the weekend?
0.
None.
Excellent. And
put a cat in the oven, doesn't make it a biscuit, man. He's not a starter in this league. Another white man can't jump quote.
It's going on my watch list. I tell you what, after this, you've brought back some great memories. Absolutely.
Tell me you're not watching it for the first time, Rob.
What's that?
Tell me you're not watching it for the first time.
No. I said I'm going to what you're bringing back some great memories. That's right. No. You bring it. Yeah, no. Please, come on. You're not allowed on a basketball podcast if you haven't. Get out. Right, do I need to flip this and like get it up there in the air? Like, let's go.
Billy Hoyle.
I actually prefer that.
Billy Hoyle's on the pot. You're Billy Hoyle, Matt. Look at you. You mean play basketball?
So I'm finishing it out now just because you said so, Matty.
You wrap it up, Rob.
Oh no, I've got to put one in, and I'm gonna go because at one point there we had a really good ratio from male to female viewers, and then we cut out all of a sudden to 100% males, and it's good to see.
That's because Hammer's wearing a shirt.
Mel Green, Jackson Cartwright this week. Let's wrap it up on this one, and then we will get into Flynn Cameron because let's bring him into the next show. We'll bring him up for sure. We've talked about the hyphen. We've talked about him being the one player that you might actually take a risk on this week with being only a single game week, especially because of his cash, his break even, and his ability to score big. So massive shout out, Mel. Thanks for that comment. I hope you guys prepped because I told you we were going to do this. I know I wasn't on the last episode, but final words. Hammer, you got any final words for us, mate?
No. I forgot about my homework. I got nothing.
No homework. That's all right. This is doing the Australian cricket team. We don't do homework. Mattrix, anything from you, mate?
You know I don't do homework, mate.
Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I think it's very easy to say, look, when you crack onto a 1 hour, 10-minute show, it's only because of the comments that we get in there that allows us to keep going on. Big shout out to anyone that's been involved. The viewership has been strong throughout this whole show. We will keep bringing the lives as long as you guys keep getting involved. So keep asking the questions. Keep hitting us up on social media. I know I get hounded with questions all the time about what people should be doing. We will be back on a Wednesday night, giving you the ins and outs of our teams, giving you the trade moves that we're going to be making, and hopefully they will pay off well. Until next time, everybody, it has been an absolute pleasure. This has been the Insight Fantasy Sport Podcast, NBL edition. Peace out.